Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be giving my match predictions for week 33 Premier League fixtures. And if we get anything like we just saw week 32, we are in for some amazing games. We saw Newcastle not only embarrassed, not only humiliate, but absolutely destroyed Tottenham Hotspur 6-1. We also saw other impressive results on the weekend, like somehow Southampton getting a point against Arsenal at the Emirates. We also saw the likes of Liverpool beat Nottingham Forest in a 3-2 thriller. And I don't think this week of Premier League football in the midweek is going to disappoint either. We got Manchester City versus Arsenal, and we know both sides are gunning for the Premier League this season. We also got Tottenham Hotspur versus Manchester United, and we know how important this game is going to be for the top four race. We even got Bournemouth travelling to St Mary's against Southampton in a relegation battle. However, before going to this video and give my match predictions, you know what I'm going to say. Make sure you guys like, comment and hit that subscribe button right there, because only 10% of you guys actually subscribed. And make sure you leave your predictions in the comment section. First game I'm going to be predicting is Manchester City versus Arsenal, and I can't hype this up anymore. We know it as fans. This is going to be a pivotal, decisive game when it comes to the Premier League title race. This is first versus second, and we know these two teams have been miles better than any other side in England this season. However, going into this game, the ironic part is that the first place team, which is Arsenal, are somehow the underdogs entering this game, and many pundits and many fans expect Manchester City to steamroll them. This is because Arsenal have not beaten Manchester City in a Premier League game since 2015. It has been 8 years. So why the hell do we think this is going to change in this game against Manchester City, who we know when it comes to Premier League title races never really give ground and are going to be relishing this opportunity to claw back in this title race against Arsenal? Also, we know Arsenal got massive key injuries. Saliba, who's been one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League. So now you're left with Erling Haaland going one-on-one essentially against Rob Holding, who has been making mistake after mistake ever since he's been injected back into the starting lineup. And I haven't even spoke about Manchester City yet, who have been on an 11-game winning streak, making good teams look average. Look at the game against Bayern Munich, absolutely decimating them at home 3-0. Look at the game against Liverpool, beating them 4-1. Manchester City have been making it look easy, and they have hit their spark, and we are seeing them peak right between our eyes. However, one could say that Arsenal this season have been performing well when the pressure is not on their shoulders. We know pressure creates diamonds, and this season Arsenal, we know, have not been following that formula. When the pressure's not on their shoulders, they can play with freedom, they can really express themselves, and that's why they find themselves in the position they are right now, because no one really believed they could be in a Premier League title race until a month ago, where we've been seeing them crack and unfold and choke. So maybe this could work into Arsenal's favour. However, this is such a small, minute point to support Arsenal, because the heavy hitters, the heavy favourites have to be Manchester City. Like I said, they are made for these sort of moments when it comes to Premier League title races. They've been here before. They've done it against better sides in Liverpool, you know, are one of the all-time great Premier League sides. So what hope do Arsenal really have when they're pretty much novice in this position? And we have seen them last season when their pressure is there to succeed in their objective. They're still a relatively young, inexperienced side who don't know to get the job done, like we saw in the top four race last season against Tottenham Hotspur. The best way I see Arsenal winning is potentially being a little bit more cautious, be a little bit more pragmatic, maybe start Kieran Tierney ahead of Zinchenko to provide more defensive stability, and you're going to need this against Riyad Mahrez, who might start since he scored a hat-trick in his last game. Also be much more rigid, be much more organised, and when they do have the chance to counter, you have the players to do so in Saka, Martinelli and Jesus, who have great link-up play. Arsenal have to make Manchester City's fullbacks genuinely feel like fullbacks and mark the outer spaces next to the touchline. This is because when John Stones drifts into the middle of the midfield, it provides more stability, more control for Manchester City to literally have wave after wave of attacks. Saka and especially Martinelli must target these fullbacks so they can't drift into these sort of pockets to give Manchester City a stranglehold over this fixture. However, at the end of the day, They have played twice this season. Manchester City have beaten them both times. Manchester City have had Arsenal's number throughout the last 8 years, and I can't see anything different. Where we know Arsenal have started to crack. We have seen 3 draws in a row, and they're starting to unfold right between our eyes, and we know it's just too much to ask for them to beat Manchester City away from home, where we know the crowd for Manchester City is going to be up for it and are going to make Arsenal feel scared and nervous like they have been in the last few games, making such amateur mistakes in fixtures. So going into this game, I can't see anything but a Manchester City win. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win against Arsenal at the Etihad Stadium. So the next game I'm going to be predicting is Tottenham Hotspur versus Manchester United. And what a massive game this is going to be when it comes to the top 4 race this season for Champions League football. And going into this game, I feel like it's fair to say that both sides haven't been as good as they were in the first half of the season, and they'll be looking at this fixture as a great opportunity to find rhythm and form for the latter half of the season. However, I have to start with Tottenham Hotspur, who are not only embarrassed, not only humiliated, but they got absolutely decimated and destroyed against Newcastle away. And I was one of the people who predicted Tottenham Hotspur to lose. But even I thought Tottenham Hotspur had a little bit more backbone, a little bit more bite and fight to actually make it a competitive game. They conceded 5 goals in 20 minutes, which is unheard of. If you saw Manchester City play a team in League 2 and they scored 5 goals in 20 minutes, you would even be shocked, thinking they would have more heart, fight and passion to do so. So why Tottenham Hotspur letting this happen on their watch when we know Newcastle are only 1 place ahead of them prior to the game? There's no explanation, and it's absolutely embarrassing. This is a massive opportunity for Manchester United to finally close the casket, put the final nail in the coffin when it comes to Tottenham Hotspur's Champions League hopes for next season. Manchester United haven't been in the best form of recent, but they have been finding ways to crawl over the line. We saw it in the game against Brighton where they weren't at their sparkling best, but they showed the experience. They know how to see big games through, and they were able to do so. However, when it comes to Manchester United away from home, it's a reoccurring theme. Wherever they go, they don't perform well against the big sides. We saw it against Sevilla. We saw it at Anfield. We saw it at the Etihad. We saw it at the Emirates. We even saw it against Brentford. Whenever they face a good side away from home, they falter, they collapse, they don't have it in them to show that passion and courage to stick within games and be united as a team. Ironically, we have seen them absolutely fold, and let's see potentially if Tottenham Hotspur can take advantage of this. However, there isn't going to be an atmosphere to captivate this feeling where Manchester United will fold. The atmosphere at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is going to be tense, it's going to be on edge, and this is only going to work in the favour for Manchester United going into this game. Also, we know Ryan Mason has replaced Stellini as the manager, and honestly, it's potato. It's not really going to make a difference because we know Ryan Mason really lacks Premier League experience. Although did manage them 2 or 3 years ago, he didn't really show himself as a great tactician. And going into this game, we know Erik ten Hag has the experience and the know-how above him to make smart adjustments to win this game. I don't know what Tottenham Hotspur are going to do. I don't know what's going to be their best shape. They did try the 4 at the back and it didn't work, conceding 6 goals. That's why Conte played a defensive style of football. That's why Mourinho played a defensive style of football, because the personnel, they don't have it in abundance to be defensively secure so the attacking players can flourish playing high pressing football. So going into this game, I can't see Tottenham Hotspur winning. You got Perisic playing as a left back, who's a wing back. We got Porro playing as a right back, who's a wing back. And we know Dyer makes classless mistakes, and even Sanchez does as well. The only real hope they have is Harry Kane to have a magnificent game, and that's the only times Tottenham Hotspur have been winning this season, because Harry Kane has been so consistent. However, at the end of the day, maybe Harry Kane is burned out. I feel sorry for him. I can't see Tottenham Hotspur somehow mastering a win against Manchester United. I'm going to be predicting a 2-0 away victory for Manchester United. So the next game I'm going to be predicting is West Ham versus Liverpool. And what a massive game this is going to be for not only the relegation fight, but potentially Liverpool sneaking in the back door when it comes to the top 4 race. We'll have to wait and see, since Liverpool have such a slight chance of making this happen. And going into this fixture, as a Liverpool fan, I'm not going to be beating my chest out thinking we should be beating West Ham, because they've been doing well so far in the last couple of games, winning by 4, also winning in Europe. But at the end of the day, Liverpool have got back-to-back wins and are starting to pick up some rhythm and tone in their performances as well to match the results. We saw Trent Alexander-Arnold, like I explained last week, tucking into that midfield position, creating more chances, getting more assists. Diogo Jota has returned back into form, scoring another brace back-to-back, showcasing why he should be the person to replace Mane, which I've been saying ever since he left. And we've seen Gakpo dropping in deep, linking up the play, driving at defences, always making the right decision. And I feel like he's been the unsung hero for why Liverpool have been so good. However, going into this game against West Ham, I am very nervous. This is because I feel like West Ham have all the ingredients to upset the apple card going into this fixture, since they have the physicality, the toughness, which Liverpool can't deal with away from home with having such a dreadful record. Look at the game against Nottingham Forest. We still are making schoolboy errors which really shouldn't be happening at Premier League football level. We are seeing long throws get into the box and Liverpool aren't able to header them out with real conviction, which allows the ball to be alive for the opposition to get chances. And we know David Moyes is unapologetic. We know he'll be doing these sort of tactics if it will help West Ham win games. Antonio, Rice, Soucek, the list goes on. Big, physical, muscular players who know how to win their aerial duels. Liverpool should be frightened. And if we saw West Ham performance in the last game against Bournemouth, they did score 2-headed goals, which shows they still have that prowess from set pieces to really endanger the Reds. So going into this game, I'm still worried. I know Liverpool beat Leeds. I know we won in convincing fashion. But Leeds got destroyed by Crystal Palace at home. And I can't really hang my hat to that performance to suggest that we should beat West Ham. West Ham have been brilliant in the last couple of games. They've scored 10 goals in their last 3 games, which shows David Moyes has unlocked something going forward, with Paqueta being in that free role. And we know Benrahma, Rice scoring goals from deep now, and Antonio returning back to form has been quite impressive. And this is the reason why I can't see Liverpool winning. Yes, I'm being pessimistic, but I can't see us getting the victory against West Ham. I can only see a defeat, going back to losing ways like we were earlier on in the year away from home. I'm going to be predicting a 2-1 loss against West Ham for Liverpool. So the next game I'm going to be predicting is Southampton versus Bournemouth. And what a massive game this is going to be when it comes to the relegation fight between the two sides. Yes, it looks like Southampton is dead and buried, and I believe potentially they are. But come on, this game against Bournemouth is a do or die. It's now or never, and Southampton must roll their sleeves up and show what they are all about when it comes to this fight. And going into this game against Bournemouth, I don't know how Southampton should view their last game against Arsenal. Is it 2 points dropped? Or is it 1 point game? Yes, they're facing the champions-elect Arsenal, and obviously no one even comprehended them potentially getting a point. But at the end of the day, Southampton were 3-1 up against the Gunners, and they should find a way to close it. You can't concede 2 goals late on in the dying embers of the game to cost you such a result. However, that game's in the past. You can't still be thinking about it. And whatever you have to do is take some of the confidence you got from that game into this game against Bournemouth and believe potentially you can do the job. Bournemouth potentially have entered this phase of being complacent, losing 4-0 at the Vitality Stadium against West Ham. So they are for the taking. And I feel like it's very different when you know you can draw the game, but potentially Bournemouth will not be given the absolute best to win it, which will work into the hands of Southampton. Southampton literally showcased in the game against Arsenal that they do have some quality going forward if they are playing right. Alcaraz getting a goal, Walcott reversing back the time, showing that he can still poach at moments. If the midfield of Southampton are performing at optimum level, they can score goals. But that's a if, and we know this season they haven't been doing that well. Going into this game, I think it's going to be nip and tuck. I think it's going to be very close. However, I'm going to be sitting on the fence, and I'm not brave enough to think that Southampton can potentially win this game. I can only see a draw happening in this fixture. I'm going to go for a 2-2 thriller between the two sides. So the next game I'm going to be predicting is Everton versus Newcastle. And what's a massive game, this is going to be not only for the relegation battle for Everton, but Newcastle when it comes to the top 4 race. And going into this fixture, it has to be clear, Newcastle have to be considered the favourites. They have been on an absolute tear ever since we know they lost the Carabao Cup final to Manchester United. They've won 6 games out of their last 7, and we know Everton are winless in their last 5 fixtures. So Newcastle must be the favourites going into this game, like I said. Yes, we know Goodison Park, Sean Dyche, is never easy ground to go to, but we know in the last fixture against Fulham, such a dreadful performance, conceding 3 goals at home, when we know Goodison Park is the cornerstone and has to be the reason why Everton will gain points this season, because that's the only way they will stay up, because we know away from home they haven't been performing that well. Everton have been showcasing that defensively they aren't as solid as a typical Sean Dyche side, conceding 3 goals against Fulham, 2 goals against Manchester United with a ridiculous high line, thinking they were Manchester City or Liverpool in their prime, and we even saw in the other few games conceding 2 against Chelsea, a team which never really scores goals. So Everton, you must fix up defensively if you have any real hope of beating Newcastle, who have been in scorching red hot form this season. I love them going forward. I've been shouting about Isak. I think he's one of the best strikers within the Premier League. Surely a top 5 striker, borderline at least. He can do everything. He can peel off to the left. He can hold up the ball. He can link the play and he can score goals. Like we saw against Tottenham Hotspur, getting a brace. And not only is he a massive factor for why Newcastle have been doing so well, they got tremendous depth going forward, which has actually compensated for their bad defensive performances in the last 8 to 10 games or so being quite leaky. We have seen Isak scoring goals, like I said, Wilson coming off the bench, and he's like a top 10, top 8 Premier League striker. We also saw Jacob Murphy get a brace against Tottenham Hotspur, as unsung hero for Newcastle, and I haven't even mentioned the names like St. Maximum, Gordon, and even Almiron off the bench. Newcastle are actually stacked. Going into this game, I think Newcastle have to win. They should win. The confidence is flowing, and I feel like that game against Aston Villa was just a blip and it won't happen again. Everton haven't been great. I don't see them winning this fixture. It's just going to be too tough. I see Newcastle winning away from home in this fixture. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for the Geordies in this fixture.